Hey everybody, Matthew Collar here, and I just want to tell you before we get into the show that you can listen to the entire Purple Insider podcast by either going wherever you get your podcasts and typing in Purple Insider or clicking the link below. Also, if you'd like to read my written coverage every day sent right to your inbox, go to purpleinsider.substack.com. Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about Mike Zimmer for a second. You have some insight into this of having played for Mike Zimmer for several years. And you said a few weeks ago when they were 1-5, this is not a tanking team. Mike Zimmer will coach his butt off. He will not let this team fall apart. And I believed you because I've seen it happen. I mean, this team often bounces back from the hardest times. And he's always done that really throughout his career. When you go through and you look at any time that his defenses were down, they bounce back up the next year. The one time he was in Atlanta with Bobby Petrino, what a disaster that whole thing turned out to be. And yet, he bounces back with Cincinnati. It's like his nature to just keep fighting. And I think that we're seeing what the value is when you have a good coach. Like there's a threshold that you reach where it is a net positive to have that person coaching your team. And then we see on the other sideline where it is a net negative. There's probably a lot of guys in the middle. There's a couple of guys at the very top that make you better. Sean McVay makes you instantly better every single year. His team was terrible last year. They go 9-7. And Zimmer is right in that ballpark where him being your coach means you're going to win as many or more games than you deserve to win that year.
100%. I mean, Zimmer's in the elite coaches. You talk, there's elite, there's middle of the road, and then there's just plain bad. And I think Zimmer is up there with the elite of the coaches because of his ability to just, he's never going to stop coaching. That dude's all ball all the time. I think he wakes up in the middle of the night and starts drawing blitz screams and then slowly goes back to sleep. That's just how his mind works. And so, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. You talk to guys that are Zim. Zim don't care if you're 1-8, you're 8-0. He coaches the same way, and it's hard and balls out coaching. And it's weird. People think oh yeah, the coaches coach, players play. You nailed it, man. There is a reason certain coaches are as good as they are and stick around as long as they do. Nick Saban is one of the best to do it in college football. You think that's just because he gets all good recruits? No, he's a hell of a coach. You see it all the time. Good coaches go to teams and they just can't put it together. They can't be great coaches because something about it takes something special to be a head coach of a mixture of the knowledge of football and understanding football, but also understanding how to be like a manager. How to deal with personalities, how to deal with discipline, how to deal with all that and not letting one outweigh the other, but divvying up responsibilities and all that stuff. So Zimmer's done a fantastic job. I think he's gotten better and better each year as a coach. And again, I don't think anyone should be calling for his head in Minnesota anytime soon.
It's interesting to me the differences between college coaches and NFL coaches. And not that scheme is not important with college coaches, but you see a lot of college coaches, and I'm not specifically pointing at PJ Fleck, but if you want to take it that way, you can.
Everybody poops.
And if you didn't see that story, find it in the Star Tribune. Oh my gosh. But I don't even want to read the quotes from PJ Fleck about reading his team. Everybody poops, but let's just never discuss that ever again, because I'm horrified by this. But therein lies the point, is that there's a lot of, motivational stuff and recruiting and getting people excited about your program. In the NFL, man, it's just scheme. Can you dial up some stuff that's going to beat that other team? Are you prepared to play that team? And when I mentioned about Nick Foles, when I used to do the show with Sage Rosenfels a lot, he would talk about quarterbacks having an answer, that Gary Kubiak gives his quarterbacks an answer. So when the other team is designed to blitz and maybe you're thrown off guard a little bit, but you've got an answer for that. Nick Foles had no answers. That's bad coaching. When he's looking around, I don't know where to throw the ball. He's backing up and backing up and backing up and then just heaving it to nowhere. That means he didn't have an answer because the pressure didn't come that fast. So with Zimmer, his defensive players have an answer. When they see something, they know where they're supposed to be. And then when it comes to the big situations, they seem to be able to solve offenses, even when they're good offenses. Even when it's Seattle, they're finding ways to shut them down on third downs. And maybe you could just explain some of these blitzes and how they work, because Nick Foles was truly horrified at the blitzes. And it is remarkable to me, Zimmer's ability to continue to kind of reinvent those and consistently be great on third downs for his entire time here, even this year when the defense has struggled.
Yeah. So first thing about coaches is one of my buddies. I have one of my favorite quotes. He always tells me. I sent him a video of one of the Nebraska quarterbacks like not doing something great, and I was like, "What is it? What is it here? Was it his mechanics? Is he not seeing it?" He goes, "Well, it's either coached or allowed." And I think
Hmm.
that's a great quote.
Yeah.
Like it's either coached or allowed. It's not one or the other. Like the coach either is coaching him to do it that way or he's letting him getting away with it. And I think that's sometimes what makes a great coach is they don't allow that stuff to happen. Like this
Mhm.
is my team. This ain't happening. I'll find someone else that'll do it my way. And I think Zimmer's done that. I mean, Zimmer's shown the willingness to let certain guys walk or let certain guys that won't do it his way not onto the field. And so I think that's one thing too is he's like, look, like you said, this is the NFL. Like I didn't kiss your ass to get here and say, "Hey, come here and you're going to be awesome." It's like, no, you're going to come here, do things my way. We're going to win football games, or I'll find someone else who will.
Right.
And that's kind of been his way. And he's crusty and curmudgeon and the whole bit, but it works. Like it works. And then you can flip it to the other side. Pete Carroll's going to love on you and hug on you, but like it works, right? Like each coach that is elite has whatever works for them. So yeah, so his schemes, by the way, I mean, they're not difficult, but there's a lot of them. And I
Mm.
think that's sometimes what throws off guys with the Bears. And I mean, a lot of deep offenses is everyone's like, okay, yep, they lined up in double mug. Here it comes. Well, there's about 5 to 10 variations of what blitz can actually come from that. So if you're an offense and you're game planning for third down, you're like, okay, what does he have dialed up this week? Like what is on his play chart? And you're going to practice all of them because you don't know which one's coming,
Right.
but you also don't know what wrinkle he's going to put in there. I mean, I've seen Sperano was great at it. He would go back and look up for blitzes from like '06. Like we're playing Dallas. He's like, hey, they're going to run this one blitz. It's like, Tony, you can't even see the numbers on this film. And he's like, no. And I can't tell you the amount of times he was right. And like an old coordinator that like goes back to the well. And Zimmer has this arsenal of he knows he can go to any blitz, even if maybe they didn't practice it all week, right?
Right.
Maybe they haven't practiced it in 2 years, but he knows between Kendricks and especially when Barr's out there and Harrison and Anthony Harris, like the main blitzers that have been in this scheme for a long time, like he knows that he can go to it and go, hey, we need a big stop here. Let's go to something we haven't ran in 2 years. They're not going to be ready for it. Bam. And I think that's one thing. I mean, you got twisting, you've got 4 from one side, you've got the look from 4 from one side, and they bring 2 from the other and drop guys out. And
Yes.
it's
Yep.
so complex, like, but it's so simple. And it just takes a ton of preparation to do that. And when you've got a new play caller like Chicago had, you got a quarterback that really hasn't played a ton against the Vikings. I mean, he's played a couple times and you're starting to see like the genius of Mike Zimmer come out and understanding what to attack. Or he looks, I know one thing he definitely was big on is tendencies. Hey, if they're lining up in 3-by-1 or they're lining up in 2-by-2 and Jimmy Graham motions this, like their tendency is to run XYZ play. So if you see it, Kendricks, and he usually puts it on, I remember it was Greenway. It was when Greenway was there, it was Kendricks and then Barr. Like, if you see it, like, I trust you to check to this blitz and like, let's hit him in the face. Like let's know like, hey, this tendency is they're going to run Jimmy Graham over the crossing and they're going to put Allen Robinson on the post. Like, hey, if you blitz from this side, the back has to protect on this side. You're going to be a free runner and you're going to hit him and check to it. I know you can do it. And that's when you see Kendricks, Harry checking around, check palms, check whatever, because they trust each other to do that. And Zimmer trusts them or not, which I think when they lost Barr, they lost a little piece of that. But I think Eric Wilson's starting to get back up to speed where they can go back to that stuff. So really cool to see Zimmer giving a little bit of trust back to them. And again, just seeing the genius defense that is Mike Zimmer. Everyone that's like, oh, you got to change. It's like, no, he just has to adjust. Like, no, he doesn't have to change, not back to the drawing board. He just has to adjust it a little bit. Again, playing with his pieces, the checkers, not chess thing, like just getting back to it.